Well, kids in Toronto are heading back to class in a matter of days, and this year there are new rules on how and when they use their phones. Kids in grades 6 and under have to keep their phones off and out of view during the entire school day or have it taken away and stored by a teacher. For students in grades 7 to 12, phones aren't allowed during instructional time. The only exceptions are if a teacher approves the use of devices for educational or medical purposes or to support special education needs. The new policy also requires school boards to restrict access to all social media platform on school devices and networks. And for more on this, we're joined live by tech expert and media consultant at thinkstart.ca, Mohit Rajhans. Thank you so much for joining us. I think for many parents out there who've watched maybe their kids' education slip a little bit because they're so distracted, they're probably applauding this policy. What do you think about it?
Well, to be honest with you, I think the whole idea of digital literacy needs a reboot at this point. We are in a situation now where there are kids that are in grade 12 that have had cell phones as part of their educational experience, their entire high school career. And then you've got grade school kids who don't know what life is like to have a cell phone inside of a classroom. So unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all solution right now when it comes down to this. And to be honest with you, Jamie, I think the next 2 weeks are going to become a little bit problematic in policing this.
I was going to ask you, what do you think, in terms of from the teacher's perspective? Obviously, their job is to educate these kids, but often it's tough, right? And I know some of these teachers who are, dealing with students who are on their phones. Some of them can access some of these social media apps. It is incredibly distracting, not only for the child, but for the rest of the class and the teacher. I'm wondering, what are you hearing from the teacher side of things and whether they think this is going to, I guess, essentially make their job easier and be able to educate these kids more effectively?
Well, there's three major players in this equation, right? There's the students, there's the teachers, and there's the parents. So on the teacher's side, the teachers need to be trained adequately to understand what the effective tools are when it comes down to using digital technology inside of the classroom. Not every teacher just automatically knows what's a good app and what's a bad app. If you look at some of the improvements some of the technology companies have made into the learning experience, you'll understand that the cell phone is actually quite a big part of the learning experience right now. I think what I'm hearing is that teachers don't want to be babysitters, nor do you want to see a plethora of cell phones at the office to be picked up at the end of the day. One of the things that really scares me about this, Jamie, is looking at some of these policies and seeing that there hasn't been a lot of consultation from the tech community about how to better use technology inside of classrooms. And I think that's going to become problematic.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, we don't have enough data to really kind of observe and see what are the positive and negative effects. I mean, I think that might be maybe 10 years from now to see of whether or not this is working. But you did make a good point that we are in this digital world, so you can't completely, I guess, separate what's happening in the digital world from what's happening in schools, because these kids are going to need to know how to navigate through these devices and technology.
Yeah, and of course, we also have to then decide who's that burden on. Is digital literacy on the schools to teach? Is it on the home and the parents to go through? Or is it about somebody just figuring it on their own? All of this is connected, Jamie, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because, you're going to see parents that'll stop and say, no, this is perfectly right. Get back to a chalkboard, only focus on attention inside of a classroom. And then you're going to hear other teachers say, listen, if it wasn't for the ability for my students to use tools like Google Earth and or various AI tools, I wouldn't be able to get through my lessons. We have to get back to the fact that one of the things that technology is doing is it's helping individualize the education process. So once we get through this idea that all cell phones are bad and we can start to use this technology as the tools that are needed to prepare our students, we'll feel a little bit better about what's happening in our schools.
Very important conversation. Appreciate you joining us from thinkstart.ca. Mohit Rajhans, thank you.